This week's tech tip uses Goobric for Students along with Doctopus to allow students to use rubrics that you've created to self-assess themselves and peer edit each other electronically. This is our tongue twister tech tip. You're using a Goobric with Doctopus. So we've separated Goobric for Students into a multi-day lesson because most of the time students are going to have to complete their work during class one day and maybe assess it the next day. It could potentially happen all in one day, but we've separated it into two for ease of explanation. So the first day, a teacher would create a Google Classroom assignment. You can find the video at our Camus EdTech website and how to do that. Create a Google Classroom assignment, then create a Goobric using Sheets. Students on that day would install Goobric for Students and open that assignment. After they've done this, the teacher would then run Doctopus, attach the Goobric, just like they would if they were going to be the one to assess the document, but leave all the boxes checked to allow Goobric over here, allow self and peer assessment. That's what allows students to access that tab. So on the first day of Goobric for Students, students will go to the Chrome Web Store, search Goobric for Students, click here on the title, and add it to Chrome. I've already added it to Chrome for mine. So in order for students to self-assess or peer assess, they will need to have this in Chrome. And once they have it in Chrome, they'll see an Assess This Document button the next day after the teacher has run Doctopus. Students will then go into the assignment, open their assignment that day. They can work on it, but they don't need to turn it in. But they should open the assignment before the teacher runs Doctopus. So after students have added the Goobric extension and opened and closed their document one time, as a teacher, I'm going to create a spreadsheet and go in and run the Doctopus add-on. And so when I run that add-on, I've already run it for this, and I attach the Goobric, I'm going to make sure that I've checked the box that says allow peer edit or allow student self-assessment, I believe it says. So there it is. And down here it says make the rubric viewable to students, allow self and peer assessment, and then send email notifications. And then you'll attach that rubric there. That's the key part of running this. On day 2 then, there would be a self-assessment option, assuming that the student has completed the assignment, or at least a rough draft of whatever the assignment is. Students would open the assignment. The first time they use Goobric, they'll have to click a button to authorize Goobric. And then they would simply click on Assess This Document in the top right-hand corner. The results then would go to the teacher's spreadsheet. It doesn't paste to the bottom of the student document like it does when the teacher completes it, but students can access that self-assessment later on. Let's go see what that looks like. So as a student, I return to class. My teacher asks me to open the document from Google Drive. It does work best if you open it directly from your Google Drive, not through Google Classroom. Sometimes the peer assessment or the self-assessment tab won't show up. So I open it from Google Drive. There's the work that I worked on the night before. And as this opens, a tab is going to pop up that says, heads up, there's a rubric attached to this assignment. Do you want to assess this document? So I'll click on Assess This Document. This is my own document that I've done. I've read it before, so I may be assigned to read it again when I use best practices in class. So maybe I read it, maybe I talk to somebody about it. We discuss the rubric as a group. We talk about things that we're looking for according to the rubric. And then as the rubric opens, I go through my document, I read my document, and I can move the rubric around on the screen if it's in the way. And when I'm done reading it, I decide for claim, maybe I think my claim's okay, I'll give it a 3. Evidence, I read that and think, well, I did everything I was asked to do. Let's see, I think that's about right. And then as I scroll down, I'll self-assess how I did. So I'll click those. And then maybe I'll write a note here as to why I believe those are the scores that I should receive. I might write a note here to my teacher. It is a self-assessment, something I would like to work on. I'd like to check for better quotes for evidence for my whatever the assignment is here. I'm going to click submit. Now my assessment for Tonia Student Confederate Monument has been submitted, and it was submitted by myself. So for the peer assessment option, students would open a Google Docs writing assignment, share it with whoever they are going to peer edit with, add the group members' email addresses to make sure they can edit, and they go into their Google file, Google Drive, open shared with me. They can read their group's writing, talk about it, give comments about it, and then they can assess the document in the upper right corner and write a comment there and hit submit, and then the student could look through those. The results do go to the bottom of the teacher spreadsheet as well. Now I've been put into groups, and we're going to do a peer assessment on a document. And my partner is Megan's student, and she has shared her document with me, and I've shared my document with her. So I'm going to go to my shared with me folder and find Megan's assignment and open it. Now this peer assessment will work the same way my self-assessment did. I have editing privileges, and again, there's a rubric attached. Do I want to assess this document? I say yes. And the rubric pops up. I can read, I can talk to Megan about her work, and then I can assess the document just like I did before. If for some reason I miss that opening tab, I can click on Assess this document. And then my rubric will open up. Now, I did assess this document previously, and so my answers, it shows up, are already here, and I did this at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I have since done that. Now, what if I decide I would like to do it again? I can go in and reread her document and change the scores if I think she's made some changes, and write a note. Yes, you found better references or whatever, and then I'll hit submit, and it will change. My last score will be now. And that's how students would peer assess this document. So once peer editing has occurred, students can refresh their assignment. They'll click on a red badge with a number in the upper right corner near the Turn In button. And the author of the comments is listed below the scores, so they do see who made what comments. They're not anonymous. And they can scroll through the different scores according to the rubric to read the feedback. Now to see the results, I refresh my essay, and over here on the right, I will have a number with a red circle around it that will let me know how many rubrics or how many scores have been submitted for me. And I think the only one on this one, I'm going to close it, I've already done that. The only one that'll show up on this document is probably my peer assessment. So if I click on that self or peer assessment, it'll give me my assessment here. And I can click next if I had further peer assessments, and I would be able to scroll through all of the assessments that students had given me. And there's score 1 of 1. You can see that it was a peer assessment there. And that's how students can look through those peer assessments. For teachers to see the comments students made about each other, they'll go back to their Doctopus spreadsheet, and there will be a new tab to review peer-to-peer and self-assessment scores. Teachers can then sort it by author and print those out if needed. Now as a teacher, I'm back in my Doctopus spreadsheet where I've run Doctopus, and because I've allowed student and peer assessment, I now have student rubric submissions tab here at the very front, and I can see who submitted all the submissions. I can see what scores they gave the student, and I can see the comments that they made. I could also come up here and sort those scores by author. And then I would see that Megan's student has 2 submissions on hers, and then Tonia's student has 1, and mine was by myself, so that's a self-assessment. And you can see all of those right there in that same spreadsheet that you use to score student documents. It's a pretty great feature. Let us know how it works for you.